A measure of a father's strength is not how loudly he yells at his kids to get them to listen to him or respect him. A measure of a father's strength is how little he needs to yell to get them to listen, how much he can pull them towards his way of living, how little he has to push them into it. Strength in fatherhood is not how physically strong you are. You should be physically strong. You should be a model of strength, but that is not what I consider the greatest strength of a father. The greatest strength of a father is who he is as a person and the model he is giving his children. I'm talking about how much do your kids respect you? How much do they want to be like you? How much do you inspire and motivate them? That kind of strength. How much can you control yourself when chaos comes? Do you snap and yell, or can you smile and provide warmth to your family? Hi everybody, I'm Chris Rodak. I'm the founder of the global men's brand Rising Father and the men's coaching program Men of Fire, where we strive to be the absolute best husbands, fathers, and men we can be. We do this by replacing our habits, by creating systems, and shifting our perspective. I'm a husband, I'm a father of an 11-year-old boy, a 9-year-old girl, and I was a public school teacher for 15 years before I quit my job and started my business. This year, my goal is to grow this YouTube program. I've been obsessed with Instagram and other social media channels and growing that. I've done a great job of that, but now I'm shifting my focus towards YouTube. So I'm going to do more than just posting my podcast. I'm going to make content specific to certain topics. Maybe I posted a reel that went viral or I got a lot of comments. I'm going to go over that and do some specific education type training and share stories of my own life. Today's video is about how to guide your family, how to lead them without having to yell at them, how to be strong as a father without having to force our way, how to pull our kids into our way of life instead of pushing them. Many times when we try to push and force our way of life onto our family, it ends up repelling them. How many people do you know want to live their lives in opposition to their fathers? I don't want to be that. I'm sure you don't want to be that. We would love to be the kind of father where we inspire our kids, where when they think of you, they get those warm and fuzzy feelings. They say, I want to be like my dad, or I want to be around my dad. It's good for you as a father. It's also good for them. When they're lonely at school and they're feeling down, they can find strength in the memory of you and knowing that when they come home from school, you're going to be there to make them feel good. This topic is because I made a post, went pretty viral, about having messy and chaotic kids is a good thing. It means they are comfortable with you. Having loud, messy, and crazy kids is a good thing. That means they feel safe with you. You have created an environment where they can be themselves. They can let loose. They can express themselves freely. They are happy in your company and will express it like kids do. That means with no control and pure joy. And guess what? Kids get loud, messy, and crazy when they're happy. Don't stifle it with judgment and make them fearful of being themselves in your presence. Don't make them build a cage around the person they are. Be happy that you have happy kids. And remember, in a few years, you will have no noise, no mess, but wish you still had it. Went viral, has like 4.5 million views on Instagram. I would say half the people agree with it, 25% are in the middle, and 25% vehemently disagree with it. And it all depends on how you perceive what I'm saying. I'm going to go through some of the comments because they will reveal different points of view. Overall, post was really well received. Like I said, 4.5 million views, 90,000 likes, 52,000 shares, 14,000 saves. I'm going to go through some of the comments here. Some people agreed with it. They said, someday we'll miss those moments when we had a loud and messy child. Yep. Someone else said, so true. My children have gone. My house is dead silent. Everything's untouched. Warms up when they're home whenever they come back to visit. Now let's go through find some of the people who disagree. So this person said, so it's better to have a happy kid than a well-behaved kid. So they took that post to mean it's one or the other. Like you're going to have a messy, crazy, happy kid or a well-behaved kid. And that is not the intention of the post, but your perception of the post comes from how you see your own life and your own kids. Like if your kids are chaotic and they break stuff and they're just insane and there's no control, then you read that post and you say, no, it's a horrible thing. It needs to change in my house. But for me, happy chaos is like I'm doing work down here. My kids come downstairs, they jump in my lap, give me a hug, they're laughing. Yeah, that's chaotic. It's unplanned. See, your perception of content all has to do with your own life story. So no, you don't have to choose between. So I said, why choose between the two? You can have both. One comment I got of likes was it's contextual. Let them be loud, but also know when loud is not appropriate. Let them be messy. but teach them to clean up after the mess, let them be crazy, but also let them know when it's not appropriate. They need boundaries as well. Yes, of course, they do need boundaries as well. I totally agree with that. And what I'm not saying is that you don't need boundaries. I'm saying lead with joy, guide your kids with joy, and pull them towards you. We do not have to smash them into oblivion and force them into our way of life by yelling at them. Okay, so here's a negative one. Somebody said more justification of bad behavior and weak parenting. So remember, I said when you have loud, messy, crazy kids, it's a good thing. It means they're comfortable with you at home. And somebody said that's just justification of bad behavior and weak parenting. So I just asked him a question, and my response is it a sign of strength when you yell at your children? If you need to yell at your children to get them to listen to you, are you strong or weak? If you can only exist in a world that is micromanaged and tightly controlled, are you strong or weak? If your kids are joyful, loud, and chaotic, and you can't handle it, are you strong or weak? So a vast majority of the people that saw that agreed with it. Some people really, really emotionally disagreed with it and got defensive and were offended. Some people said I'm the worst parent in the world. Some people said I should burn in hell. But that's just what you're going to get on social media. So I thought, hey, if this is a viral reel, it could be a really good topic to talk about on YouTube. When someone says chaos in your home, it means different things, and it depends on what you're experiencing, what you are experiencing at home. Like I said, if people are damaging things, your kid takes a baseball bat and he's smashing doors, that's not a good chaos. For me, happy chaos is, like I said, I'm working, my kids come down, they give me a hug, they give me a kiss, I have to tell them to go upstairs. We're having a painting day at the table, and they spill paint all over the floor. This morning, Nathan was having Jell-O. He started eating it with his hands, and it got all over the place. That's chaos that happens that doesn't need me to come down and crush them. As fathers, we can allow things to happen without us crushing our kids. We can guide them with strength and warmth. In my program, Men of Fire, we talk about being the lighthouse. Guys have it tattooed on their arms. That means that the storm is coming. Waves are coming, but us as fathers, we're there strong, lighting the way, and we're immovable. When there's a little bit of chaos, we're immovable. We can still smile and guide them. We don't have to crush who they are as a person. So there's a difference between happy chaos and destructive chaos. Next, in terms of your kids growing, it's important to let them be messy. I was a teacher for 15 years. I've been teaching saxophone lessons for a long time. I'm come from a family with nine kids, 8 brothers and sisters. We lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. There were some crazy, messy, chaotic times. I grew up in the world before we had video games and screens and any of that. We were outside playing in the dirt, climbing trees and all that. If your kids are not allowed to make mistakes, be messy, fail, then they are going to be inhibited. They're going to stop themselves from taking risks. They're not going to want to invest in themselves. They're not going to want to fail. They have to be able to mess up. I was building a pull-up bar in my backyard, and my daughter Lauren wanted to help. She's never used a wrench before. So I said, all right, this is going to take longer, but she needs to learn how to use a wrench. So I said, sure, Lauren, come on outside and you can help me. So she comes outside. What would have taken me 30 minutes took 2 hours because she was stripping bolts. She was using the wrench wrong. I had to keep on telling her. She was messy. It was chaotic. She was failing at it. But had I not given her that time and invested that in her, she would not have learned how to use a wrench. Now she knows how to use a wrench. As fathers, we can only allow our kids to be free, and we will only have patience and not snap and yell at them if we have control over ourselves. In my past, I was the most out of control and snapped the most and the most impatient when I had the least amount of discipline, when I was fat, when I was sloppy, when I was the most frustrated with myself, when I thought, I'll never get out of this job, or I thought, will I always continue to fail in my life? When I was in that mindset, I was extremely frustrated, self-absorbed, selfish, and I couldn't be present with the people around me, including my wife and kids. And that would cause me to have very little space for them. So when they did something that was irritating, I snapped. I didn't have the space and time to allow myself to take it all in and make a measured response. So how you feel about yourself has a big impact on how you will treat your family. Let's talk about pushing versus pulling. This is a philosophy of parenting that is really important. You can achieve a similar result, and one of them is even better, whenever you are forcing your kids to do something versus pulling them to do something. Pushing your kids to do something is the wrestling parent who is yelling and screaming at his kids to go to every practice, to go to every tournament. The kid doesn't want to do it, but he's forcing them to do it. He's living through his kids. It's also the parent who has no control over his kids unless he's screaming and yelling at them. And in his mind, he might think he has the ultimate control because look at me, I'm strong, I'm screaming and yelling at my kids. Aren't I powerful and aren't I in control now? No, you actually have no control. You have no control unless you are carrying a bat. Is that more or less control than the father who can just look at his kid and he knows what to do? If I can just look at my kid, smile, say one word to him, and he listens, and you have to scream, yell, and threaten your kid to do the same thing, do I have more or less control? Now, how do you do that? How do you achieve the other one? Let's assume you don't want to be the dad who's screaming and yelling and terrifying his kids into submission. Let's assume you want to inspire them, make them feel good about themselves. Well, you have to live a life that they want to be like. You have to become somebody who inspires them. You have to be somebody who they want to model their life after. So the true strength of a father is not how loudly you are crushing your kids into obedience. It's how little you have to do that. It's how much you are pulling them into your way of life through inspiration. So I would encourage you, just as I do every single day, and that is, am I pushing my children towards a way of life, or am I pulling them towards a way of life? Am I okay in the chaos? Am I trying to control every aspect of the chaos, or am I trying to thrive in the chaos? I hope that was helpful for you, and I'm going to make more content like that this year. If you want to learn more about my podcast, more about my men's program, check out my website, risingfather.com, and it's all there for you. If you like this, you want to see more of these videos, comment, tell me what you think, like, subscribe, share, all that YouTube stuff. I'll see you guys.